This is almost more of a question for you guys than it is a video of me talking, but I'm going to give my thoughts about it too. Comparing the feeling and the emotions of the two national championships Georgia just won, because to me it was really different. And the seasons were different, right? The two things that are the same is Georgia dominated and Georgia won. That's the thing that's the same. Otherwise, two completely different seasons. I think that they're two completely different feelings. Both fans, players, coaches, just from what I've seen, what I've felt as a student, as a reporter, just up close. You guys know I'm up close to all this stuff. Man, back-to-back national championships. The Dogs did it. I think that we had a lot of faith that this was something that could happen, and they did it. It was time last year for them to do it, and you could feel that it was time again for them, for Georgia. Ryan Kelly from Dog Post here, talking about the back-to-back national champions and how different the emotions. I've had a hard time discussing it. You can see I'm probably going to pause a few times just because it is so emotional. It is hard to grasp. It's hard for me to collect my words on how to describe everything that's happened in the last 2 years. It's been one hell of a ride. It has been one hell of a ride for this team, for Dog Post, all of us. And I've got one word that I'm describing last year and one word that I'm describing this year. I'm going to tell you that after you look at this, because guess what? We're doubling down. Double Dogs, the new book. I'm going to have to get used to saying that instead of Dogstruction, but Double Dogs, that's the book this year. You're going to want both of those. If you already have this, I believe we're still selling it. Reserve this, pre-order. We're going to get these out faster than we did last year. We know what we're doing now as far as publishing a book goes, but I'm proud of the work that we've done, to say the least. So the 2021 to 22 national championship, where Georgia goes 14-1. They lose to Bama in the SEC championship, and they return the favor and win the national championship. Relief. That's my word for that. Relief. I think I can say these things because I felt them. Because, I try really hard. That's the job, to be an unbiased journalist, media member, whatever you want to call me. But I go to Georgia and I care about the Dogs. I'm on here to tell the truth and to tell my opinion. Relief. I think that was a relieving victory. I think that there was a weight lifted off a lot of people's shoulders, Kirby's shoulders. Tears from everyone. It was different this year. There were tears, but this year my word is triumph. I think that the Dogs, that was triumphant. It was domination. It was demolition. They beat everyone in their path. Perfect is hard. Perfect doesn't happen very often. Back-to-back happens. I guess that doesn't happen very often. I was trying to figure out which happens less often. They both don't happen very often, is the point. All right, back-to-back happens about once every decade, and it was 10 years ago that Bama did that. 15-0 has only happened 3 times in the college football playoff era, and we're year 7 of this thing, roughly. So Clemson did it, LSU did it, and now Georgia has done it. Triumph. The Dogs dominated. There's no really other way to put it. They dominated. 12 of the they dominated 12 of the 13 teams. They beat one of those other ones decisively, and they clawed their way back in the other 2. And if you guys paid attention, you know which 3 games I'm talking about and what exactly I'm talking about there. The emotions that came with the national championship, or the emotions that happened for the Peach Bowl, it did feel like more of a national championship. No, it wasn't the national championship. It was the semifinal. It isn't the national championship. Maybe we'll remember that as the game. And let's be real, it was the game. That was it. Ohio State and Georgia. It was a true battle. TCU belonged where they were. They did. There is no argument against that. Unless you want to just argue they weren't one of the 4 best teams. They were 12-1 and an overtime away from being a 13-0 conference champion. So there's not really a way around arguing that, in my opinion. They just weren't good enough to compete with Georgia. They weren't, and that's the case with almost every team in college football the last 2 years, right? There's only been one team that's beaten Georgia since 2020, and that's Alabama. And Georgia beat them. So Georgia has beaten everyone they've played in the last 2 seasons. I need to go back and look to see if that's the case. I think Alabama did that, actually, because they would have... Alabama, I think, did that in their back-to-back run because of the LSU thing. So maybe it has happened before. You remember what I'm talking about. Trent Richardson was on those teams. I think the Honey Badger was on those teams, or one of those teams. It doesn't have triumph. Relief and triumph. Those are my 2 words right now to describe it. If I come up with a better one, I will. But, I mean, you can see, look at that. Triumph and happiness. I have another picture of him that's going to scroll through this. And I'm going to wait for it because I don't remember which order it's in. That is relief. That is relief. I mean, those pictures tell the story. That's why we do the book. That's why we do these videos. That's why we write. You know, we're telling that story, and those images matter a lot because I'm describing what's in those images, but I almost don't have to talk because you can see it and you can feel it in their eyes and in their faces. There definitely is a difference between the 2 seasons, and every season's different. Every game is exclusive from the last. I'm a believer in that, and that's not exclusive from seasons as well. So it's, to me, completely different feelings. You could see it in the fans too, how different it was. It was... The game itself was so different. I mean, it came down to the last 2 minutes last year, and this year it was over in the first 2 minutes, if we're being real. So you get a different vibe from both sides. Relief and triumph. You tell me I will read these comments. I will over the next couple of days. I'll try to respond to a lot of you guys, but what word would you use to describe last year's national championship and this year's national championship? Those are my 2 words. Tell me what you think about that. Links down below. Reserve double dogs. Trust me, you're going to miss that out. I hope I see you at the parade on Saturday.